Today Chavzayin here is the Yutzat from the Ramchal, Reb Moshe Chaim Latzato, the son of Reb Yaakov Chai Latzato. He wrote a lot of Surim, and one of the Surim was the Mesilas Yesharim. And I think that's the most popular cipher of him, and I believe every Jew has heard of it. And it's a very inspirational cipher. It's a Musar cipher. It gives you very good directions how to go on in Judaism and in life in general. And I'm very connected to the cipher. I learned it through the whole thing. I feel very connected, and it inspired me a lot, and I believe everybody should learn it. Now, I don't know any stories of the Ramchal, but I would like to say one word. The biggest thing that I got inspired from the cipher. It's the second chapter in the beginning, which is called Izrizis, which straight translation to English means hurrying, but it doesn't necessarily mean hurrying. It means what a person has to be on top of. So he writes over there that a person should always review themselves and look if they're going in the right direction or not. They shouldn't end up going on a dark pathway like a blind person. Now, the meaning of that saying, of that passage, is that everybody was born with a certain personality, and their life set them up in a certain way, and that's how people stay. So naturally, a person is on one direction the way they are. And if a person goes on their whole life like that, and at some point, let's say they realize there's one thing about my life, or more than one thing, that is not right, I mean, they're not going in the right direction, they're not doing the right thing, the person has a very difficult time changing. In Yiddish, there's an expression, alte Bär kann nicht lernen tanzen. That means an old bear, you can't learn how to dance. The meaning of that is that if you want to train a bear for a circus, you got to train them when they're young. You can't train them when they're old. So the same thing applies to a person. When a person is young, a child, a teenager, they can change very easily. If they want to change, I mean, the whole idea of education in Judaism means chinuch, means directing. So a child could change, and a teenager as well. Now, a person in the 20s, it's easy, but it's harder than a teenager. And as a person ages, it gets harder and harder and harder. So if a person has set up themselves, this is my personality, this is my nature, this is the way I live, and then, let's say by 50 or 60, the person starts realizing this is not right, I shouldn't be going in this direction, then it gets very difficult for the person to change. But if a person starts at a young age to review themselves, and they constantly reviewing whether I'm doing the right thing or not, then the person sets up their lives to be flexible. Therefore, even though they don't really change, but at some point they'll be able to change, no matter how old they are. Why? Because they're flexible. And this is what the Ramchal is teaching over here. That a person should constantly review themselves, constantly review your personality, your midas. How do you behave? What am I doing? Am I doing the right things? Am I not doing the right things? Just look over your life. Now, constantly doesn't necessarily mean every day. Every day could be very difficult, especially people are very busy. They don't necessarily have the time. But once a month, sit down and review your month. How was my month? How did that pass by? Did I behave normal? Did I do the right things? Did I improve myself? Did I grow spiritually? And so on and so on. Just by reviewing that, just by overthinking, it will create this flexibility in you. And even if a person is chas v'shalom doing horrible things, if a person reviews themselves, they will eventually do tshuva. They will eventually return to the right direction. But when you're flexible, you're just giving yourself the easier time. And it's not only that, the fact is, if you're going to review yourself, you will do tshuva faster. Because you will look at yourself and ask yourself, why am I doing this? And before you know it, you'll turn around. And of course, the Yetzer Hara doesn't want the person to review themselves. And that's why the Mesilas Yesharim wrote it in Midas Azizas, meaning something that you have to be very on top of, because the Yetzer Hara does not want a person should review, because the Yetzer Hara wants you should get and become very used to your direction, like an old bear, to be like, this is who you are. Because if the Yetzer Hara manages to make a person that this is who he is, then the person has a very difficult time changing. And that's why we need to fight against it. So even if a person is now older and he hasn't done it till now, you could start now. Just review your life. Keep on reviewing yourself and make yourself flexible and open yourself with changes. Changes meaning in your personality, and eventually you will change yourself and become a better person. So the schis von the Ramchal, the Moshe Chaim Latzato, should be making on all of us, and we should all have all the yeshiyas, and all the bad gezeres should be bottled completely, and we should be zeicher to Gila Shalema.